Hello. Okay. We're live. I never know what's gonna happen. Sometimes YouTube wants me to actually press another button to like turn this on live, and other times it is like, you know, already going and I'm like, hello, all of a sudden. All right, I'm waiting for Sarah to join us, and otherwise, we are getting ready to get settled in. I'll let Sarah settle herself in before we get too further along. And I just want to make sure, yeah, just want to make sure the video is doing what it's meant to. Beautiful. Okay, enough faffing on from me. Welcome everyone to this fun little live stream that I thought I would do. I wanted to I guess, invite one of the speakers, Sarah, along to talk with us because we have these really cool conversations in Voxer, and I felt like it was really time for other people to hear us riff on AI and all of this stuff that we've been talking about. Obviously, if you've been part of any of our other summits, then you will have heard us talk already and maybe you've been waiting for us to dive deeper into AI. There is going to be plans for another summit around the theme of AI, but I thought that it would be really cool to have an initial conversation specifically around, the theme of this summit, which is wealth, worth, and woo. And I felt like how cool would it be to be talking about that topic with the lens of AI and how AI can influence all of those areas as well. So, Sarah, welcome. Hello.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
I can indeed.
Good.
Thanks for joining.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having
Yeah,
me.
yes. So, I feel like there's no real like format to this other than, like I said, a conversation. So, I guess I'd love to hear your thoughts on maybe we can talk about each individual theme of within this current summit, the wealth, the worth, and the
Mm,
woo. And maybe let's talk about um, both positive and negatives around, how AI can influence us in the WooPreneur space. Um, because I think it's important to be balanced. And I know that we both also have, opinions in the positive and negative on certain things.
hmm
So I think, yeah, let's just start chatting and see how we go. So tell me about your thoughts on AI in the WooPreneur space around wealth and like money making offers, all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I just wanted to start by saying that I really think it's so interesting, even just seeing everything, going on right now. Today being, for me anyway, I know Brie, you're in the future because you're in Australia, right?
Yeah.
So it's still the September 21st for me, which is the solstice. So it's pretty cool that we're doing this today. But I really feel like I tend to be in the gray with a lot of things where it's like I see all sides. And I know you and I have talked about that, where it's like we see all sides of a situation. And I think this is going to be a really interesting conversation around that, where it's like there is
Yeah.
the positive and negative, there is the light and the dark. Um, I think for that topic of, you said offers, right? That we were starting with, like
Yeah,
offers.
like and money making and income, allowing that wealth to flow, the different ways that AI can help with that and maybe hinder.
Yes. Yeah, and I know a lot of people in my circle are very nervous about AI and about using it and about what it might bring, jobs it might take away. Um,
Mm,
and also I think this big thing around authenticity
yeah.
and that it will take away, I remember there was something about actors like that they were really worried about AI
Yeah.
overtaking their ability to act, right?
Yeah,
And I just
had a strike for like months and months and months and it stopped like all these amazing shows from being finished.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So there's a lot of fear around it too.
Mm,
Um, And I think there's ways that we can embrace it without it completely taking over. I hope, right? And I think behind everything, there's this intention of, if we have that intention of love, of being, showing up and showing with our heart and being authentic, then I think there's something to that. And that sounds really, kind of flaky, woo woo, whatever. But it's like, I really feel like our intention is our fuel and is what we need to bring forward. And I really believe, as you and I have talked about in, the upcoming talk that I do for the WooPreneur Summit, is like, just around this witch wound that so many of us have, who are in that woo space, and our throat chakra being closed in lifetimes, that I've seen, looking into people's past lives where they were a witch, or they were, and way back when, a witch is somebody that really, was like an herbalist,
Yeah.
someone who enjoyed being outside. Like it's really a wide range, because sometimes when I see a past life on my client and I'm like, oh, you were a witch, and they were like, and you can just see their whole body like clench. And
Yeah.
it's like their nervous system is remembering that they were condemned for that. And I think there's this really interesting thing happening where right now, and I know with this eclipse, I've been seeing a lot of things like astrologically where the voice really needs to be heard. And there was something that came to my attention. I was thinking of this chat where they said that if your voice is blocked and if you're having a hard time speaking your truth, speaking authentically, showing up on social media, selling yourself, and you try it for a bit, and then you get exhausted and you hold back, right? Like there's this like energetic back and forth, that it actually blocks abundance. And
Mm.
I think it's all tied partially to this witch wound, where we're worried that we're going to be persecuted for because of the past. um and there's so much going on in our world right now that is this like threat of this, right? And so it's interesting that we're having this conversation, and AI is this new layer. It's, and like it's just this new layer of the unknown that we're walking
Mm.
into. And I think that that fear around it can be kind of debilitating for some.
Yeah. Well, actually, you reminded me of a conversation that we had around the fear of gifts being taken away from us because,
Mm.
again, that's past persecution. And that definitely comes into this, the subconscious, I think, around where the fear comes from for our blueprinters, our spiritual beings, our beautiful people that are here listening to us and watching us now. Like, that's the sort of thing that unknowingly is what's driving any fear that they might have around AI, around using
Mhm.
AI, around AI being prevalent in, the society. So I think that like sometimes it's just enough to actually recognize that and witness that, but
Mhm.
oftentimes like that's the start. That's the unraveling that needs to be kind of explored, I think.
Yeah, yeah, and I think I used that example in our chat where, I was thinking about it, and I was like, where is this fear coming from with AI? Where could it be rooted? I always like to think of, where's the root of it? Why are we feeling this way? Why are we feeling this unsafety? And right away, I'm dating myself, but it's like when I was 17, it was 1999. And we were upon the big 2000, is the world going to end? And
Yeah.
computers were just starting to come out, like I remember we got our computer in our home when I was 15, and that was a really big deal. And I remember like bracing myself right before midnight. And I remember we were like looking at Australia being like, are they still there? Are we okay? And like there was so much fear. And we really, and again, it was that fear of the unknown. And it's like, how are computers going to change things? They're taking away encyclopedias. We don't have any encyclopedias. People aren't going to read anymore. And it's like, yeah, we still read. I still love, I have a big pile of books right beside my bedside, but we also have like, so many cool things that have come out of that. Like my son is autistic and dyslexic, and like the amount of technology that helps him to be able to participate in the world in a different way, right? Like, and it's again like that light and dark and
Mm,
the beauty that's in it in the it's when we think of we just focus on those like I just think of like contracting energy, like it's just like coming in and just contract and just being in that dark. And then when we're able to actually think of the expansiveness of it, and that's how I'm trying to think of AI, is that there's this expansion. Like you and I would have never known that we each other existed, Brie, if it
yeah,
wasn't for the internet and computers, right? We would have
for
been
sure.
living our lives, not knowing, what each other was doing. Maybe we were both like churning butter and didn't know we both had a butter. I don't know. I'm just being silly, but it's like we're just doing our own thing and not realizing, and it's like it's connected us to so many people and so many opportunities. And I think that's where when I look at social media and the people that I follow, I'm very intentional. And so the people that I follow, they have to expand me in a way, in whatever way that I feel that I need that expansion. And one person I follow, I watch her stories because I want to get into the mindset of how she has gotten to where I want to be. And she's showing me the possibilities. And I feel like you and I are those people for other people, right? We're showing them the
Mm,
possibilities. And I'm looking towards this other girl to show me the next step. And right now, at this very time, there's a lot of timeline jumping and that's being talked about in the woo woo world, right? And it's like if we can raise our frequency to get there, and it's like the social media is so amazing for that when you're intentional about who you follow, because you can allow yourself to really step into like, oh my gosh, I could have this life. I could have this life. They did it. Why can't I? Right? Like, and that's the
yeah,
big thing. Why can't I? Why don't I deserve that? And it's that switch of mindset of like, instead of looking at somebody and saying, how did they, why, like, why don't I deserve this? Why, and it's like, it's in that kind of like negative and lack feeling to they did what, like, it's possible for me. This is
yeah.
absolutely possible.
There's proof.
It's
Yeah,
proof. Yeah, this is proof. And so it's allowing us to really raise our frequency in a really big and fast way and showing what's possible, because online courses, right? Like I love online courses. I love creating curriculum and I love being able to sell while I sleep. And it's like, that's what I want. I want to be able to wake up in the morning and know that my word and my thoughts are getting out there in a really big way. And I'm making money repeatedly with, like already creating what I needed to create. That's really exciting for me, that concept. And it's like, I would not have even known that that was possible if it wasn't for the people that I've been intentional about following.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think that like that's the thread that, I think we need to remember with how we respond to AI. It's like it's the same thing. It's like
Yeah.
we're being intentional about who we learn from, but also how we access it, how we, choose to use it in our business. And um, I know you talked about this. I'm pretty sure it was in the interview around like we're the sum of the five people that we hang around with the
Hmm.
most. And so thinking about that from, the social media perspective of like
Hmm.
making sure that we are aware of, the people we are following, that's an amazing thing. But also, how does that influence us in the way we, deal with AI? One of the things that I am actually teaching on at the moment and have shared in another summit. I'm doing a few AI themed summits over the last month and the next month coming up. And one of them is around the concept of like introducing your personal vibe, your personal like unique like fingerprint, your signature,
Hmm.
your energy into the AI creations that you are putting out into the world. So that can go from, the copy that you're writing with AI support, all the way to the types of, apps that I'm creating with Lovable, where it's really important that my essence comes through. My perfect example is the summit like access pages that's built with
Hmm.
Lovable. And I could have let it be really generic and really kind of basic, but I really wanted it to have a specific energy behind it, a specific vibe, a specific flavor that was not only in theme and in tune with the summit, style, but also reflects myself and, the way that I like to show up online as well. So I think that, that's a really, really important piece of the puzzle. And it can really influence the way that we make money online as well, like the way that we there's all of these amazing tools now, like that we can be playing with, that we can have creative, outbursts with and like exploration with. Like that for me, I think is why I'm so obsessed with Lovable, is because it's this creative
Hmm.
outlet. And even to the extent of like ChatGPT can be that as well. It can be like this fuel for me as well. But at the same time, it can be a distraction from my purpose. It can
Mm.
take me along a few little like unwanted or wanted, but not necessarily appropriately timed um rabbit holes and things like that. And so I feel like
Yeah.
that is also a lens that our WooPreneurs need to think about when they are kind of exploring, chat GPTs and vibe coding and all of that sort of stuff. Like, why are we actually doing it? Is it for the benefit of like the the rest of the world, the universe? Like, is it actually there for uplifting people or creating, resources that can really support people? Or is it just so we can kind of have a bit of a play and like look really cool because we've got this fun app that we've designed, which sometimes
Yeah.
I get into the other, the not so good angle of like, I'm just doing it to look good versus, okay, why is this, um, why are we actually creating this? Is this going to really uplift the, people?
Yeah. Is it going to raise the consciousness of humankind? Like
Exactly.
it's like always
Yeah.
coming back to that. And I'm actually just reading a book. I'm just gonna grab it. My husband, it was my birthday at the beginning of the month, and he wanted to get me a book and went to a few stores. And this book, he was just like, it's by Rachel Hollis. And I don't know if you've read it, Bree, but what if you are the answer? And in it, I just got to this, I'm really loving it. And I was like, I said to my husband, I'm like, you did so well. And he's like, yes. Because he's like, he knows how picky I am with books. And I love Rachel Hollis and I love her, a few of her books. And so in this one part, it's exactly what you said. It's so interesting how like I always feel like you and I are so in sync with our conversations. It's like the chapter I just read in the book is exactly what you're saying in this live. It's so funny. But it's like she says that where she said that she has worked for 7 years doing podcast hosting. Like where she's worked with like all these people, she's interviewed all these kinds of different people, athletes, actors, like so many people. And she said that there's a common thread for people who are successful. And I was expecting a list like I'm used to, and I'm sure you're used to too, where it's like, wake up at 5 in the morning, drink your coffee after your, stuff like that. And it's like, okay, here we go. And it wasn't, it was like an energetic blueprint. And it was like the top like 7 things she says. And it was all about making sure that you are doing something that brings you joy. It was like, what is it that makes you feel alive and that doesn't feel like work and that you're doing it and you're excited about it? And the way she did the steps, it was just like so good. And then it was like the last step was like, do it all over again. And so it's like you just, and it's, and I see you with Lovable, and I haven't dived into Lovable yet, but like Brie, even you are a perfect example of exactly the kind of energy to put into this kind of stuff because you put so much into these summits. Like anybody watching, it's wild. Like Brie, I've been a speaker for a few summits, and it's like your attention to detail and what you create with Lovable and what you send everybody with like the Google Drives and the updates and the like, there's no way that you don't love it because you wouldn't have this much energy and you wouldn't be able
Yeah.
to talk about it, like you do. And you give it for free. Like you give these summits for free, and like if they want access after or like for longer, then you charge. But it's more than fair. You know what I mean? And it's like the energy exchange for you. Like you have to love it a lot and just really enjoy what you're doing to be able to give that free ticket away for everything that you are putting into it. Um, it's amazing. And I am with you where it's like that's exactly the mission that I'm on, where I want to help people to be their authentic self while making their workload less. Because what I'm noticing is I was talking to a friend of mine and she said, well, I write everything myself. I write everything myself. And I'm just not using ChatGPT. I'm making sure everything is written by me. And I was like, okay, I'm going to challenge that. I said, I write everything myself too, but then I multiply it and I get help multiplying it with ChatGPT. And she's like, what do you mean? And so that prompted me to create a freebie, which is coming out very soon. I'm almost finished it because it's like that conversation really made me realize like, why don't more people know that you don't
Mm,
have to sell yourself or like you can still have your voice, you can still have your authenticity. And it's like I'm sure you're the same, Brie, where I can't tell you how much when I'm talking to ChatGPT and I'm like, nope, that's not what I want. That's not
yeah.
that it, and it's like I think people think that it's just like whatever the output is, okay, good enough. I'm not even going to read it and here we go, right? And it's
Yeah.
no, you have to actively work with the AI, like as if it's the same as if you were working with an assistant. Like if you have an editor for a book, and I've been thinking about this a lot, where it's like the books that I read, I'm like, every single word in their book is not theirs. Because they've had how many editors, how many people who have reviewed it, crossed out sections, added things. Like, how is that different?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think you touched on something that you reminded me what I literally said to my husband yesterday. Like this summit wouldn't have been possible to have been done in the way that I'm doing it without AI. Like from the extent of I use the script for my editing of the podcast episodes. So that's like a transcript editing tool, but also like I'm using AI within that. It is an AI tool because it pulls out all of the words where we repeat, a word after this, the da 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 da
Yes.
like that. I do that a lot. And I say a lot, and so being able to just go click down and then
Yeah.
really simply do that. That takes so much time out of my manually doing that. It would take me days and days and days. Whereas yesterday, I'm a little bit behind schedule, I will admit. Yesterday and the day before, I was editing the episodes and I was able to get them out in time because I was using AI and able to take the transcript that's generated which is an AI generation, and put that into ChatGPT in a kind of project that I have about the summit to then say, let's write the episode notes so I don't have to write them. And
Mm-hmm.
then I can copy and paste them. And I can take all of the transcripts and get AI slash ChatGPT to summarize that for me so I can then do my intro episode, which I recorded this morning
Yeah.
because I didn't have time yesterday and publish that. And it's that first episode that everyone hears to know what the day's episodes are about so that they can then understand who to listen to. And for me to for my brain to be able to do that would take so much energy, like from my brain and my
Yeah.
body and my soul to like try
Right?
and figure out what has everyone said, even though I just edited them all. What did everyone say? What's the key thing I want to make sure that is included in, my summary? Like it's just it, it is actually impossible without having teams of people, paying people
Mm-hmm.
hundreds and hundreds of dollars to execute these tasks.
Totally.
So for me, I can do this as a solopreneur now. Um, my capacity has, evolved, so I can do a lot more of the things myself and have more kind of control over it. Um, and I think the other side of that, like my thought process just went to if I'm outsourcing it to a VA that I don't necessarily trust or connect with properly, they could be using AI in a way that isn't aligned with how I want to use it. And so
Mm-hmm.
I said before I can control it, but it's more about like allowing the output to be more authentic to who I am and how I'm wanting to present myself. Whereas, if we were outsourcing that to a person, they could be using AI and not necessarily applying our vibe, our energy, our thought process to it. So that's also something to think about.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that lately where it's like, okay, how do I expand past this, right? Where it's like, I do want people on my team. I do want to continue using AI, but expand in really big ways. So how would I do that and still be authentic to me? And I really feel like the way, and this is another program that I've started to create, is just showing the process of how to put folders, how to have specific conversations and the instructions that go with it. And I think it's like I'm always thinking about when that time comes where I hire somebody, then it's like allowing them kind of the keys to certain doors, right? Of like,
Yeah.
I've already trained AI to my voice in this specific way, and I would be training them instead of saying, I want you to take out all the ums of my podcast, right? It's like that little work is already done. Now we can actually take the podcast, plug it into this like custom GPT I built that already knows my voice and is trained. And now we're going to expand it. And I'm the same where I
Mm.
use Riverside for my podcast. And it's insane. Like it blows my mind every time I record, where it just like, all the transcript of everything. And exactly, I plug it into ChatGPT and I'm like, hey, give me, like, I'm about to post this on Spotify. I want people to see it. Give me the best SEO words, the best, like, how are we going to like put this together? And it's like, it comes out, right? So, and I think it's like, I think what's key is that a lot of people will use ChatGPT as a Google search. And I think you and I are really refining our skill with how we make sure that it's very specific. And it's like we take it like even further, even further. It's like we're pushing, pushing, pushing to see how good the output can get.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. For sure. I was I was talking to Chatty this morning and I was like, I want to do like someone sent an email about a collaboration. I was like, I feel like I could fit into this collaboration. So I copied and pasted it over and I was like, I know I have something that I could do here, but I don't remember what it is. So I wanted ChatGPT to like kind of scan all of our chats essentially and figure out what I could fill the gaps with. And I was like, cool, but no, I want more. Like, give me more.
Yeah.
And the words that I always tend to use is like go below the surface, go deeper, get into the subconscious if it's like mindset related. And then we start to get a little bit kind of more detailed and more aligned, I guess, to what I'm trying to achieve.
Have you ever said to ChatGPT, have you ever typed in tell me something that you've wanted to tell me but haven't?
No, I haven't.
Do it.
I don't
Yeah.
do,
Yeah,
yeah, I
that's
don't do a
fun to
lot of
see.
those sort of like trends. A couple of times they come up and I'm like, oh, that would be kind of cool to do, but I never actually do it. But I will do that one.
Yeah, that one was
Yeah.
really neat because they like gave me it felt like they gave me like a pump up speech about my business, but also some really good like insight.
Mm.
Yeah, it was really neat. I liked that one.
So maybe we could then like transition into the worthiness of the play,
Hmm.
the piece, the conversation here and how AI could be impacting us positively and negatively in that part of the equation.
Hmm. I think, yeah, the message that comes through as soon as you say that from my heart is just that remembering, like I remember when I was in network marketing years ago, and it felt like, I mean, you're all selling the same product. So it felt like everybody's selling the same thing. Like, why is anybody going to buy from me when there's these people who are like in the multi-millions selling better than I can, obviously, right? And at the end of the day, what I realized is that the people who want you, the people who like, it doesn't matter what you're selling, they're buying you,
Mm,
right? So it's like, and that can be really scary and really empowering. But it's like I can change my niche and I can, and I still have people who bought something from me with the network marketing that are now getting psychic readings from me. You know what I mean? So it's like at the end of the day, it's you that they want. And so you really have to dial in who you are and be that authentic person. Use your voice so that they can, like be attracted to you, like call it in and allow yourself to really work on that worthiness because that's what's going to allow yourself to be able to voice and call people in and with that energy because if your worthiness is low your frequency is low and if
mm,
your frequency is high then you're calling in more people and and I notice that where it's like even my clients I'll be like that was a very strange interaction or whatever. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I'm sure you've noticed that too. And then I have to do a check of my energy where I'm like, okay, wait a second, where am I at and what am I calling in? And it's like a TV antenna that we're like dialing into this frequency of like 103.4, and I'm like, no, no, I want to be at 100 and whatever, 159. Like, I want to be over there. So it's like I really have to check in and make sure that I'm dialing in and being at that frequency that I want to attract. And when you see that where you're calling in things in your life that are not in alignment, then that's a reality check because whatever is in your reality, you have created, you have directly created with your mindset, your frequency. And so worthiness is such a big piece, such a big piece.
yeah, I think when you were talking, what I felt like was important to say is that there's a risk that the people, the WooPreneurs that use ChatGPT, for example, and don't have it trained, don't do the things we were talking about where we go further into like questioning and making sure it sounds uniquely you and like it has your authentic voice. Not only are they going to sound like everyone else, which, we often hear
Hmm.
people talking about that, but you potentially are calling in the wrong people because you're calling in, what OpenAI thinks is the, online business world's needs. And people could potentially get a little bit lost in all of that, and so their identity becomes part of what that could look like, not what their soul actually wants them to follow. And therefore, the worthiness piece comes in because they're out of alignment with their soul's calling,
Hmm.
and yet they see, it's kind of like when you start to follow a expert or like a coach in the world that's had success, and you start to follow their exact process and strategy without doing any discernment, without like
Hmm.
assessing for yourself, and it still doesn't work. And you're like, but it works for them, so why can't it work for me? It's because you haven't placed your soul into the equation. And if you're kind of in that place, that's where the worthiness starts to come up for good reason, because you're not connected to your soul again or anymore.
Hmm.
And so there's this kind of push and pull that could happen, like around, yeah, being where you want to be versus where you are. And so I think that is something, maybe, yeah, like it's maybe a little bit too big picture for like what we're talking about right now, but I think it's sort of important to for people to think about, how are they allowing AI to influence them? And I can certainly get caught up in that. Like, I will often be lazy and just be like, that's enough. I just need to get content out. Like just, you know,
Hmm.
um, for me, I think the benefit, like the good thing is that at least it's come from my voice already. Like the transcript is generally always the home place, or like I've used the voice note feature in ChatGPT. So it like has my
Hmm.
energy from a base, but often, I'm like, I need to just smash out some content. So I get into ChatGPT and I'm like, da 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 da. And my essence is lost in that. And so, like, I guess, we can all get, you know, lost in it. And it's just a matter
Hmm.
of figuring out, at what point do we make that shift? Yeah, and come back to ourselves and find the balance between getting enough content out there versus having it be like from our soul and our uniqueness, and yeah, having that kind of come through.
And it's the same if you have a team or you have a VA. Like
Mm,
you need to be having team
absolutely.
meetings. You need to be,
Yeah.
this is what our goals are. This is what we're working on this week. This is what I want. So it's like, what are the emails going out? What are the themes of the week? Like we've always got to have a pulse on it.
Yeah,
And
for
it's like,
sure.
but as a solopreneur, it can get exhausting, right? And it's like it's tough sometimes because you want to have these discussions, but there's nobody to talk to. And it's like, I feel like that's really nice about ChatGPT too, where it's like you want to bounce ideas off on somebody.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now I have this, AI that knows my business and is, knowing my heart and is able to know the way I operate as a person, as a human, to a degree, right? Because there's nothing better than actual humans, who are doing things. But this is a really great way to have that support and to
Mm,
be able to feel supported in a really
yeah,
beautiful way.
absolutely. Yeah. Before we finish up, is there anything else that you feel like we need to close off with or leave people with?
Mm, I think just not letting fear, um, just not letting fear stop you from living the life that you desire. There's a friend of mine who, when AI came out, and I was really scared, and she said, like, if you don't get on the train's going to leave without you. And it's like I just see so many people who it's like I know they have a big message and I know that they can help a lot of people. And it I think a lot of people feel like this might be cheating. And it's like I want them to know that it's like this is a tool. This is so different. This is a tool, and there is a very authentic, wholesome way to do it that doesn't change the frequency of your message. It expands it and it allows you to get into the hearts of more people. And that's all this
Yeah,
is. And I don't want those people who are going to change, raise the consciousness of humankind and change the world to be sitting in the corner exhausted and depleted because they're writing everything themselves and
yeah,
their message isn't getting out there. Like that just makes me feel really sad.
yeah, yeah, I agree. And I think that um like a few years ago before I started using AI in this way, I was definitely someone that would have burnt out in all of the ways again, based on like the information that I feel like I have to share. And I say have to because it needs to come through, like,
Hmm.
and the speed in which it does, I was not able to keep up with it. Like, whereas now I have the ability to keep up with the information that needs to come through me
Yeah.
because of AI. And
Yes.
um, I think that is, yeah, something that, like, I could have only, like I said this before with the summit example, but I could only have done that if I was paying, like, I had a huge team, but even that would like exhaust me because of the thing that you just said, like, we have to have meetings with people, we have to like keep them on the same
Yeah.
page. Whereas this can all feel like it is coming through from me with the support of, the AI brain that we have built, that second brain of ours
Hmm.
in things like ChatGPT. When we talk to it like we do, as frequently as we do, it starts to get a sense, get that, like I said before, that vibe of us, that's, energetic signature, that fingerprint comes through. And so I agree. Like I'll what's the word? I'll resonate, like, agree with what you said in that people shouldn't be afraid. And if there is that fear, just question it. Like, ask yourself, why is it coming
Hmm.
up? Where is it actually coming from? Is it a fear of change, a fear of like the world moving faster than you're ready for? Is
Hmm.
it past life that you really hadn't, considered what was going on with that? Where is it actually coming from? And then why is that? Why are you allowing that to hold you back when you
Hmm.
have so much to
Such good
share?
questions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Such good questions.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you, Sarah, for joining us for this, and for everyone that has watched or listened to this. This is going to be as part of the podcast feed, so you can listen to this later as well. And yeah, enjoy the rest of the summit. And I will see you in another video or another like episode down the track.
Awesome. Thank you, Bree.
Beautiful.